Hello, welcome back to the second chapter with Rochelle. Today I thought I'd touch upon a topic that came face to face with uh, when I was setting up to retire, and that is whether or not to downsize. And this is something that I'm sure everybody that's retiring or is retired or planning to retire has to deal with. It's a question. And so there are many reasons people, when they retire, decide to make a change. And it could be that you want less house to clean in retirement. Could be you want to move closer to family. Uh, Whatever the reason is, it's a challenge. And it's not just a fact of you're moving, oh, I'm just moving, I'm going to be closer to my daughter, I'm going to have less to clean. It's not. It's packing up memories, especially if you've lived in a home as long as I lived in our home, and that was 35 years. I mean, all the stuff that you collect and everything. So I thought maybe today we'd touch upon some of the challenges that I faced and what I learned while I was facing this downsizing issue. First of all, it's finding a place to go. Once you decide that you're going to move, where are you going to go? What's next? That's the big question. Are you going to go into a condominium? Are you going to rent an apartment? Are you going to buy a smaller house? You're going to stay in a larger house? All of these, that's the first question, because that's going to determine really what you pack, what you save, what you find out family members may want, because when you declutter and when you start to get rid of stuff, it's a lot. If you wait too long, you get overwhelmed. For when I first decided that we were going to move, I stood in the middle of the room in the living room, and I just kind of turned around and I said, oh my gosh, all this stuff, what am I going to do about it? So don't get overwhelmed. What I did is I got myself a notebook, an 8.5 by 5 pound notebook, and I started writing, what room am I going to start with? And I wrote down living room, kitchen, bathrooms, laundry room, all the rooms. I gave the page, and that's the first thing I did. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go through each room, and I'm going to just kind of assess to see what I need to get rid of initially. Then what I did was, once I decided what to do, I took each room and I went for the bathrooms. Let's say I went in and I went through the linen closets and the cabinets and the drawers, and I went through and I got 3 containers. One is a garbage bag, one is a box for donating, and one was for keeping. And so what I did was I went through the linen closet and I went through all the towels and sheets and whatnot, and I donated what I wasn't going to use. And I mean, after so many years, you collect 10 sets of sheets you don't need. So donate those extra sheets and towels and everything. From there, I went through and I went under the cabinets in the under the vanities, and went through all the stuff that I collected, makeup, extra free kits, and so much stuff. So I went through and I got rid of a lot of that, and I had gone to Dollar Tree and I bought a bunch of clear plastic bins, and I started loading those up with things I was going to keep, and I neatly organized them underneath the cabinet. And then from there, I went to if I had drawers in one bathroom, so I went through all the drawers and I organized those and got rid of, expired creams and, medications that had been there for a while. And I just kind of went through all of that and cleared that out. And as I completed each task, I checked it off, and that was very gratifying. And also it makes you feel as though you've accomplished something. It gives you the energy, and it gives you the positive reinforcement to go on to the next room. I started with the bathrooms, and I went to the kitchen, and I did the same thing. I went through and got rid of pots and pans that had been there all the way in the back that I never used. And I went through the drawers and got rid of old utensils that had hung around, and all of that, and under the sink, and got rid of cleaning things that had been back all the way in the back. I just totally decluttered everything. And I got rid of what I didn't need, and what I kept, I put in the clear bins that I'd gotten at Dollar Tree, as I said before. So I checked that off. The next room, checked that off. And then as I kept going on and on, I felt, more like I was in control of it. because it's a lot. I saved the bedrooms for last, because there's so many things. I mean, in the guest rooms or my daughter's old room, that was easy enough. She had taken almost everything with her, and so I just had to go through and go through the dresser and the closet and get rid of stuff that she didn't need, and that was pretty easy. And then I had an extra room that I had a guest room, and that closet actually was filled with stuff. So I had to go through that and did the same plan: donate, toss, keep. And I kept that same procedure on through the whole house. It took me a long time because I was working full time still. And so I only had, like, after work some time at night. And then I had the weekends when I wasn't running around doing errands. So it took me about 8 months, but I didn't care, because it gave me a chance to not only go through the house, but to sort of say goodbye in a very clinical way initially. But it got my mind going in the mindset that we're going to go. Now, the hardest part for me was the emotional part. Things that I really wanted to hold on to, and had kind of been put aside. In our daughter's artwork from when she was a kid, and how much of that stuff can you have? But it's been a long time. Even though I had kind of put them in bins and whatnot, I still had to go through them and make a decision on what I was going to keep and what I was going to toss. Furniture, photographs. My gosh, there were thousands of photographs. And I have to say, what I did decide to do with that, I had boxes, boxes of photographs, and I didn't have them. None of that was digital when I was taking pictures when our daughter was young. So I had photos. So I had to go through boxes of photos, and I just sat down one day with stacked up boxes, and I went through each photograph and tossed whatever were duplicates, or decided what my daughter might want, and what I wanted to keep as a memory, just for the general idea of having it. So I decided to go through all the boxes and the photos, and I kept what I wanted, and I tossed thousands of pictures. There were just so many. But I only kept what I needed to just to spark the memory, not just thousands of photos in a box. So after I had gone through and what I wanted to keep, and to toss what I didn't want of the photos and some of the artwork and all of that stuff, the next thing was packing. And so what I decided to do was, first thing, I wanted to assess what furniture I was going to keep and what I didn't need. And right off the bat, in the guest room, there was furniture in there that I definitely was not going to keep. That had been there forever. And so I had, put it on Facebook to sell or whatever. Whatever I sold, I sold. Whatever I didn't sell, I called Faith Farm, the local religious thrift shop, and they took that, whatever furniture I didn't need, and so that was a blessing. And that helped pare down that. And then from there, I decided what furniture I was going to take to a new home, or to put in storage until I found a new home. And so that's what I did. I went through and mentally tagged everything. And in my notebook, I wrote down kind of the things that I wanted to keep. From there, once I decided what furniture I was going to keep, I decided it was time to kind of get some estimates on what it was going to cost to move. Now, we had decided to move from South Florida to Charlotte, North Carolina area, where our daughter lived, and which we love, by the way. And so what I did was, once we figured out what we were going to keep, we called the movers, several different moving companies. We started with some of the big names: United, Mayflower, Allied, all of those. And we had them come into the house, and they gave us an estimate on, cost. And that was really important, because in some cases the prices were divergent. I mean, some of them gave you an estimate, and they said, well, this is the estimate, and then if the weight is over when we arrive, then you have to pay the difference, and you have to really kind of do your homework as to what the proper estimate is supposed to look like. So we did decide on a mover finally, and we had that all squared away, and that was done. We had an idea of how much money it was going to cost us to move, and all of that. So the next thing was preparing the house to sell. Now, we could have stayed, we could have rented it or rented it out, but I really didn't want the hassle of keeping another house and renting it, regardless of whether you're going to get income or passive income or whatever. So what we decided to do was declutter the house and start packing. So what we decided to do was to go through the house and kind of declutter the room, in the sense that we packed things that we wanted to take with us, but we didn't want to keep out, trying to just minimize it a bit. So for real estate showing. So we did that. I went and the most wonderful thing in the entire world is that Home Depot delivers moving boxes. Unbelievable. They have different packages you can do, like they'll give you an estimate of what 5 rooms, 3 rooms, whatever, and they'll give you put together a package of what the boxes you might need. It's a wonderful thing, and they deliver to the house free. It's with tape and packing supplies and all of that. So that's what we did, and it made it so much easier than going to the store or having a mover do it, which cuts the cost down. If you do it yourself, it cuts the cost down enormously. So if you have the time and you don't have to move quickly, I found that actually packing yourself was easier for me. And it was also cathartic, because I got a chance to kind of go through things and say goodbye and put aside and whatnot. And so that was really good. And so that's what I did. I had Home Depot deliver a bunch of boxes, and I started with the closets. So I made up a bunch of wardrobe boxes, and I kind of put clothes in there that I kind of figured out seasonally. Of course, in South Florida, it's always one season sort of, but still, we went through in our closets and kind of got rid of stuff that we weren't going to be wearing, and then we put in wardrobes, things that we didn't need. From there, we went, and by the way, all of this was done in a notebook. If I was going to work on my closet, I put on Rochelle's closet and declutter, go through, donate, whatever I was going to do. I wrote it all down so that I could check it off. And when I checked it off mentally, it was like freedom. So, and then from there, I went into our bedrooms, and went through and packed things that were out. First thing we did was pack all personal photos. I guess the realtors say no personal photos out. So we did that. I went through the house and I packed all the personal photos and whatnot. And that was all in a box. And then from there we went on to designer or decor items, just kind of minimize that, and pack all of those things that we did need to have out. And little by little, we went through it. It took me about, I would say, close to 6 months between the time we decided to move and the time we decided to list the house. It took about 6 months. And that's not really a long time, considering that you're working full time. So that's what we did, and I got a storage unit. So I got a storage unit at CubeSmart, and brought the as I filled up boxes that I didn't want to fill up the garage with, I brought it over to storage, and then did that. I found that making the moving process simple. As simple as you can get it is really important. It's less overwhelming. By the time you get to the where you're listing the house, you've done most of the work, because you've mentally said goodbye or in the process of saying goodbye. You're starting to pack stuff away. You're decluttering, you're cleaning, you're doing all of these things. So by the time the house is listed to be sold, you should be pretty much mentally there, and you know, having a lot of decor packed and everything. So trying to make it simple, because if a house sells, it could sell in 30, 60 days closing. The last thing you want is to have a house closing and you haven't gone through any drawers or gone through the house or started to separate anything, and then have the house say, okay, that we're going to do a 30-day closing. My gosh, you'd be so overwhelmed you wouldn't know what to do. You'd be crying every day with stress. So please, if you're going to decide to, when you're making that retirement change and you're going to move, downsize, lateral move, closer to family, whatever your decision is, decide early to go through and get rid of stuff, declutter, pack, storage, however you want to do it, but do it, or else you're going to be totally overwhelmed. Anyway, so we got all of that done, and I got the house listed, and we sold the house. And that took a little longer than we wanted to, but you can't control the market. So we finally, took us about 7 months to sell and close the house. And now we're in Charlotte, living with our daughter until we find a place to live. So all's well that ends well, I guess, with all that stress. But in a previous video, I guess my first video that I made, that I shared with you, I found out in the middle of all of this packing and storing and all of that, found out I had breast cancer. And take a look at that video, and it'll talk to you about how I faced that challenge, and how I came back out at the other end. So take a minute, and I would appreciate it. That said, I look forward to I hope you'll come again to my channel. I hope you subscribe. I have a lot more things I want to talk about retirement, and about my background is in the financial markets, and my experience with that. So in closing today's video, I just wanted to say thank you for coming to my channel. I hope you found this interesting. I have a lot more topics I want to cover, and I hope you'll subscribe and come back. I hope to do some cooking. I have some family recipes I'd like to share. And as fall comes, I do love to do flower arrangements with faux flowers and real flowers and whatnot. I'd like to be able to share all of that, and take you on my retirement journey as we're just beginning. So thank you for coming to my channel. I hope you found this video informative. If you have any questions, or if I can help in any way or answer any questions, please leave comments and I will respond. And have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you. Bye.